welcome to Comfy Cozy Up. So we are in March. Let me tell you, I am so happy. I am a spring and summer girl. So we're getting close. But let's talk about February. February was absolutely a good reading month for me. I mean, we're talking the books were just so good. They had me like thinking about it, still thinking about it. The writing, absolutely good. So I read a total of 6 books. 4 physical and 2 I read on my Kindle, which were romance. So we're going to talk about these books. Now, they all had a review, except for one. So I'm not going to go too deep in the books because I did a review on them. But I'm just going to talk about just overall how I felt about the books and, why you should pick them up, that kind of deal. So let's start with the Harlem Run book. Now, Fire in the Flint, which is Walter Francis White, and he is a man that was president of the NAACP. Forgot the time period. Oops. Yeah, my alarm clock. Anyway, sorry about that. So this is a book that was absolutely fantastic. Now, I've had this book sitting on my shelf with I think 3 or 4 Harlem Renaissance books that I own that I haven't read yet. But I said I'm going to pick it up, and it's not long. But I knew it was going to be heavy, but it's done in a way that it was such a good storyline and written so well that you get through it without thinking how, tragic it is at the end. So this is a story about a black doctor. Now, he left the South, went north, gained so many experience than the average doctor in the community he's from. And then he decided he wanted to come back home. He wants to be with his brother, his mom. He wants to be around people that he knows and practice medicine. While he was back home, he realized what his reality in his head that he thought he was going to approach is not what is actually happening. So he is now seeing the struggle of the black people in the community in terms of there are a lot of sharecroppers and they are being taken advantage of and constantly being told that they owe money or not being paid for their services. And so as a doctor of treating people medically, he's also trying to be the buffer in that. But it comes with a price. This is the South. This is Jim Crow era. This is, he's still a black man regardless if he's a doctor. And so he's faced with all of that, and in the midst of it, of him doing all he can, he had a matter of the heart, the moments where he felt like he met somebody that can be, but things didn't work out the way he wanted. But it's just to see how things happen and who's involved and the kind of people that can stop you at your at the direction you were going, and the frustration that he experienced, and you can feel it in the pages and how he reacts. So this was so good. It was again, it's tragic, but it was really well done, and I really was like, oh, this is one of those Harlem Renaissance books that I would highly recommend. It is heavy, but it's really, really, really good. Oh, another thing I want to talk about, there's a controversy about this because I looked it up after and I realized in Georgia, they were very upset when this book was published. This book was published back in the 1930s. And so it's a modern day class. So there's that idea that politics and how politicians were sucked up in a lot of what was happening, the court system. And of course, they did not like that, the dirt was being in the book. So that part was kind of fascinating when I read some of that, the effect this book had and what people thought about it when it was released. Then we got to a book that I was so excited for because I don't know. I just felt like it was going to be good, and it did not disappoint. And that is Heaven and Earth, Grocery Store James McBride. Now, let me tell you. This is so good. This is so good. His writing style, it is a writing style that I feel like some people will struggle with because, like I said in my review, he's going to throw the whole book at you. And then he's going to wheel you back in and take you slowly, and you will start to get this. This also has a lot of characters. So I wrote a lot down. They also have cute, funny, and interesting nicknames for people. Dodo, all that. So this is really about a town that is very diverse, but of course it comes with its problem because it is a historical fiction. But it started where years down the road a body was found. So now you're going backwards to that town and what was happening, and you're going to get an idea as the story goes on who potentially could be the body they found. You find out at the end and how it happened, which is kind of sort of hilarious when I think about it. This is a story about a town that is, you have whites, you have Jewish, you have black. There's a lot of issues going on with that, and we're talking about the times. And you are now, besides they're all having their different kind of issues and tensions and things that's happening, here how goes this boy who is automatically assumed to be retarded because he is deaf. And he's in a position where things happen that he witnessed, that he tried to do, and he's now thrown in to this horrible situation. Each character in this, you get in a backstory. So as the author is giving you the story about that, as each person being introduced in the story, you're getting a backstory about them. But ultimately, that boy somewhat become this like center into the storyline, which is why you see the cover. What I can say about this is, it's a lot of twist and turn. There's characters that you're gonna like. There's characters that you just despise. There's things that's happening. I mean, we're talking people worrying about water. We're talking a doctor that's just ridiculously, just the man is evil. But at the same time, entitled. There's that entitlement personality about that character. You have the black family who deal with their own struggles, and so in this, the way the author is telling the story and also dropping little hints throughout the book of who the body could be, sometimes along you kind of sort of forget that the body, because you're so wrapped up in these people's life in the book that you forgot about the body. But when it does pop back up, as you were like, oh my God, that is how it was cleverly done, that you're just gonna be like, what? Yeah. That's all I'll give you. I feel like you need to watch my review of this, but overall, I don't have no fault with this book. Like this, I'm smiling because that's how good this book was. I'm like, what? Like creative writing. This needs to be on some of these award lists. I just feel like he did an amazing job with this. Highly recommend this. Then we have the Real So Lit book of this year, which was The Known World, Edward P. Jones. And this is a book that I did take a little time reading because it's like I wanted to really soak up the storyline. And it's following a black slave owner. So this is he's a slave owner, he's black, which ironically he was bought by his own parents. So this is how it tells the stories of how a lot of black slave owners, which it wasn't a lot, but the ones in areas, oftentimes they became a slave owner by basically buying their family. Usually when they buy their family, they will set them free. But in this, they showed those who did use slaves in terms of working the farm, working the land, that kind of deal. This is Henry dies, and after he dies, all hell breaks loose. It's his wife is in a position to run the farm, and then you have the a black man who basically takes care of overseer. He's a black overseer, and it's that quest for freedom. And then this one, I wrote in my note, I said, "What would you do if you were free?" And this becomes a question where I wonder about in this story, because even though that the treatment at this place was not the worst thing ever, you essentially still a slave. And in Moses' case, you see the struggle and the want and what he did in the quest for that. You see that even though you are black and free, you're technically at a risk every day of being thrown back into that by someone who just chooses to do that. And you see that in the storyline of how illegally free blacks were thrown back, were bought, were transferred to a different town, different state, where no one knows, no paper trail, that kind of deal in this. It's different characters in this as well, that having their storyline in this. But Moses, I think it was the one that you understood the sadness of what he did, and oftentimes your own personal want of being free, and that you can make a mistake, you can, but I found that his character was probably the most like interesting and complicated at the same time, because there's that moment in the book where he did something where he caused something, and you're just like scratching your head on that, like that's just sad. But at the same time, you understand why he did some of the things that he did. Now, it became kind of a Wild Wild West situation at some time. There was some action in this. There was definitely some action in this. There was some, interesting moments in this where I'm like, okay, he's giving us stuff. He's not just making it such a sad storyline. He's giving us some action to keep us in the story. And I like that. I do like the sheriff and, his part in this and all the other things that was happening. There was some death. There was definitely some death. There was definitely some shootout. This will give you some stuff. Absolutely love this. I do see why it won the Pulitzer, because the writing is butter. The writing is butter in this. So, yeah. Then we're going to talk about Mr. Sa Cosby. All the sinners bleed. Black sheriff. Black sheriff didn't know what he signed up for. Didn't know what he signed up for. He's barely in his position, and here comes this boy that went up in the school and decided to shoot a teacher, and then here comes all the things that they didn't know. So you learn about the teacher, you learn about the shooter, you learn about the police that shot. You learn about everybody involved, because now it is associated with multiple murders of young black kids that was discovered on a video, and then they found the body. So now there is known to be 3 people involved. 2 are dead, and then you have 1 that they don't know because there's no face recognition. So this is a mystery, suspense, because you hunting down who the third party is. But in this case, the sheriff now become the prey. His life is threatened. He's constantly having to deal with this, and trying to find who did it is what makes this interesting, because it is not as simple as I know who did it, because the way it's written, there's literally no true identity for several pages, until when they realize who it may be, you still don't know what the person looked like. You have this name, you have this connection, but no facial recognition of what the person looked like. This is why the story is so good. It's very much a suspense. I love the relationship he had with his brother, his father. There's a woman in this that is that is past, came back to kind of haunt him a little, but then his current is like a situation with that. But he's so wrapped up in his job that sometimes it's too much, but it makes a juicy storyline nevertheless. Absolutely love this. He's literally starting to be like a buy. Like, I feel like any book he comes out with, I want to read, because I feel like I'm going to enjoy it. I'm going to be very much on my tippy toe trying to be with the storyline and understand what's going on. So I was very much for this. I think it's absolutely well done. I recommend it if you are, especially for this month, March Mystery Madness. Add this to your list for March. Get into it. So that's the physical book. Now, romance. So I did read 2 romance that I really enjoyed. And the first romance was Holden. And interesting enough, both books are by this, they have the same first name, different last name. So Alexander House, I read Holden, which is a sports romance. Both books are sports romance. But this is hockey. And what I liked about this is about a couple that got divorced, but the love is still there. And essentially, I think the story is so much about communication and mental health and physical health as well, and how in a marriage that becomes complicated. They don't know how to communicate and to make that relationship work. But eventually in the story, you see how they got back together. But you also get in a history of them, how they met as kids, how the female, Crystal, her brother, she was a twin, her brother had issues, and the tragedy of the brother, and how that also affect her mental health with all the history of family history, and struggle with that. And then you have Terrence, also known as Ford, that he was the hockey player that is predominantly always on a team where it's just he's the only black person, and the struggle of that and his career, and how he got on this team that he really enjoyed being around people like him on this particular team. And it's how he loved her, but didn't know how to communicate and didn't know how to really say what he really wanted to. Love this romance. I thought it was really, really good on how communication can be such a breakdown of a loving relationship, because the love is there. They still have the love, even though they try to date other people. The love was still there, and I really enjoyed this. And then the last romance, which is another Alexander, but it's Alexander Warren, and this is in its own corner. It's a sports romance, but it's boxing. Love this. So it is basically, Prince is like this boxer that is very notorious for winning. He's notorious for being sort of not looking approachable, because his demeanor seems to be a little harsh. But then you have Abel, who's a journalist, and she was able to interview him, but she's an interviewer that gets to she writes and she sees and she asks questions that a lot of people want to know about that particular athlete, but she asks questions in a way where it makes them human, and she writes these articles about them that is people like and become popular. And there's a connection there where when she met him, there's an attraction, of course, but then she gets to know him by asking questions and seeing how he is. Now, this is a man who has always been told by his father. His father is very aggressive, very much in his face about things that he does, and he can't pretty much have a life. Your life is boxing, and that's it. And so you learn how boxing became his life, but not necessarily him getting what he wants out of life in this. And the connection was so quick in this, where things happened and the relationship moved really, really fast. But of course, it becomes a conflict with his father. You learn a story about his mother, and also how they needed each other in different ways. And career, both have careers that they love, but also careers that have ups and downs, and you see this in the storyline. Really like this. I thought it was really sweet. It did had a bit of insta love in there, so that's the only thing that some people might have, because it's some insta love. But I think it was written in a way where I liked it. I liked it a lot. I liked the chemistry between them. I like how they talk about the boxing, and how horrible it can be to their brain, being hit in their head all the time, and the after effect, and how sometimes they don't even see that until they're retired years down the road, and they have all these issues because they're getting knocked in their head so many times. I like that is discussed in the story, and how a partner can be struggling with knowing that, okay, you are on a high, but there's a potential of when you're older that I'm going to have to be taking care of you because of the side effects that you may have from all that blow. I like that that's discussed in the storyline. But yeah, I was here for it. Alexander Warren, I'm still on her, like from last year, and I still want to read more of her books. I just find that I like her writing style. And of course, you know, Alexander House is just, I've read them all, 20 something books. So but that's it, guys. I had a good reading month. Did not finish the subscriber pick. It's a book that I feel like it's a very dense in some area. The font is very small, so it doesn't look that gigantic, but it's a big book. So I'm taking my time with it. I'm trying to get into the storyline. I feel like I'm not there yet, but I feel like I'm gonna love certain aspect of it because of what I know after I did my research about the Aviator. So it's gonna get done, and then I'm gonna pick March, and yeah, we're gonna do all of those. I have so much to share about March, so come back next video and I'll discuss some more March plans. And I'm excited for this month. I'm excited for spring. I am over this winter. I need the clock to be back in 2 weeks. Longer days. Yeah, I'm here for that. So anyway, I will see you guys in the next one. And yes, I'm wearing the red dress I made, so yeah. All right, guys. See you in the next one. Bye.